Every new blend borrows from the past, and the Saga Blend number 7, it is the perfect combination of timeless knowledge of traditional tobaccos and the newer balance that today's cigar enthusiasts come to expect and love in a fine cigar. Leveraging 6 generations of experience and tradition of the Reyes family, the Saga Blend number 7 delivers a unique, full-flavored, medium-bodied cigar. The cigar is highlighted by a Brazilian wrapper over a blend of Central American and Dominican tobacco. Available in 3 sizes at an affordable price, the Saga Blend number 7 is sure to please and bring together past and present. Brought to you by Rocky Patel Premium Cigars. The sun-grown Maduro is hand-rolled at Rocky Patel's boutique factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. This triple-capped, hand-bunched, and hand-rolled cigar is accompanied by a gorgeous broadleaf wrapper. Well-balanced, rich, and decadent, it truly is a great addition to any humidor and worthy of bearing the long-respected sun-grown name. For more information, visit them on the web at rockypatel.com and be sure to follow Rocky Patel Premium Cigars on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Experience the world through the eyes of an icon with the new Macanudo Inspirado line. Created for a global palate, Macanudo Inspirado defies convention. Handcrafted with the world's finest tobaccos, Inspirado delivers a unique international smoking experience. Find Inspirado Orange at fine tobacconists everywhere and Inspirado Black online and in your favorite catalogs. Ready to be inspired? Check out Macanudo Inspirado now at macanudo.com.
This is episode 188. Will Cooper from Studio C in North Carolina. Joined by my co-host tonight, Aaron Loomis of Developing Parrots. Alan, how are you doing so far?
Good so far. Coop, how you doing?
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to get into Stogies of the Week right now. And this is a segment where we basically discuss of what we've smoked in the last week or really whenever. And Aaron, I'll kind of put you on the spot. Why don't I'll let you kick off the segments in terms of something you've smoked this week that you want to talk about.
Sounds good. So we kind of talked about in the first segment a little bit was the Davidoff Nicaragua Box Press Robusto. So I got a chance to smoke this. Started off a lot of cinnamon and wood right off the bat. The smoke was a little bit drying on the cigar, but not anything too bad. As it went along, I got a little bit more chocolate and coffee that came in. And then in the second third, along with those core flavors, I was getting a little bit of minerality, which is a flavor I enjoy, actually. And then in the final third, I started to get a little bit of slight char to it, and some sweet cream also came to mix in. Strength-wise, I'd say medium full. So if you're somebody that likes to drink coffee in the evening, I think that this would be a fantastic pairing. But it would definitely stand up to like a bourbon, whiskey, or scotch or something like that. And it's definitely something that I prefer over the original Davidoff Nicaragua. With that cigar, I tended to get kind of a bit of staleness to it. So this was definitely a different profile for me. And kind of going with the Stogie Geeks rating system, I would consider this cigar a box split for me.
Interesting. I'm in agreement with you on most of that in terms of I actually would put probably the Robusto. This was the Robusto you were talking about, correct?
Yep.
I put that as a box split. I do put the Toro to box worthy. The one thing I noticed with the Toro is I felt there was a spike in strength at the end of that cigar, which I did not see coming.
Right.
And it was each time I smoked it where, wow, that was for a Davidoff? Yeah, I just didn't see that coming. There was a lot that was un-Davidoff-like about this cigar, too. Just even in your description of it, this is something you won't see from a Davidoff. I think it's had a polarizing effect with folks in terms of they either like it or you don't. I agree. I think it's the box press really impressed me with that. And they made a couple of blend changes, including putting an Oscuro wrapper on there, which I think really, really was a good thing there. I liked what they did.
Yeah, definitely an improvement over the original release, and it was definitely welcome for me.
Yeah, I give them credit. They did a great job with that line. I hope we see some more box presses from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I smoked a cigar called the Monolito, Monolito. Monolito. So this is a cigar probably no one's heard of. Aaron, have you smoked anything from Recluse Cigars?
Yes.
Okay, so Monolito is a shop exclusive being done by the folks behind Recluse Cigars.
Okay.
For Cutter Cigar Emporium down in Atlanta, Georgia. Excuse me, Alpharetta, Georgia. So they've had this cigar there for a little over a year, and it's made by the Recluse folks in their factory. What was interesting about this cigar is it was a Corojo offering, which Recluse doesn't have a Corojo offering. So it has an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, a Sumatra binder, and a filler that's all Dominican. And I actually smoked the Toro. It's available in 5 sizes. The Toro is a 6x50. All the sizes are box pressed, except for they do have a Perfecto, which is a traditional rounded Perfecto. But in general, Recluse is known for they're very big into box press. That's their big thing right now. I actually was very impressed with this cigar. It was an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, which is usually a hit or miss wrapper with me, but more miss than hit. But I enjoyed this cigar a lot. I mean, it had early on, it had more of a woody component. There was a little bit of caramel and a mix of black and red pepper in there. I found the wood notes kind of stayed. They were pretty much a key part for about the first 2/3 of that cigar. But there were enough flavors balancing it out along the way. So there was some caramel notes, there was some natural tobacco sweetness, a little bit, the pepper notes played a role. They kind of amp up a little at the end. It wasn't the best burning cigar by any means. It wasn't the worst burning cigar. But it was enough. Like I said, it was if I had to say it was more of a good burn as opposed to an excellent burn, but it still wasn't a bad burn. It had a lot of flavor nuances along the way where it changed up a lot, which I liked with it. Overall, I'd recommend this cigar. Cutter Cigar was a former sponsor of Stogie Geeks. I'll just disclaim that. But that being said, this is a cigar worthy of a box split in my book. It was a really good cigar, and the price point was $7.25, which was very reasonable as well.
Yeah, Recluse has a lot of good cigars. I'd say the one that I'm the biggest fan of is the original Amadeus, and that's a Connecticut cigar. That was just a fantastic cigar for me. So this is definitely something that I'd be interested to try. Just the fact that it came out from those guys.
I'll send you some. I have some already, so I'll send. Remind me. Don't be shy about that, but I'll send you. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious because I said they did a good job with this Corojo. I was kind of, in a way, I love the guys at Cutters, and I was kind of bummed because I really wanted to see Recluse. Maybe they'll do another Corojo down the road someday, but but at least they did one for Cutters, and you can get it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yep. What else have you gotten?
Let's go with the La Flor Dominicana Lenox. So this is, I'm kind of a little bit late to the game on this cigar. I know it got a lot of publicity last year, but we actually did a review on this. And starting out with the cigar, right off the bat was dark chocolate and wood, and kind of seeing how dark this cigar is, kind of going along with what you were saying earlier about, does that darkness kind of correlate to the dark flavors and things like that? And on this one, it did. Kind of getting past the dark chocolate, that was kind of an early flavor that went away. But it was primarily wood, pepper, and some earthiness. And then a little further in, minerality, and then black coffee and black tea kind of like came in and out in, alternating draws there. It was pretty interesting. Second, third, slightly sweet cream, and then the wood transitioned to a more defined oak flavor, which was very nice. And in the final third, along with those core flavors, I started to get a little bit of mintiness, which was nice as well. So I don't think I've ever gotten mintiness and said it was bad. So whenever that kind of pops in, it's kind of an added bonus flavor for me. And I know a lot of people have said that this is a really strong cigar for them, but for me, it was just kind of right dead on medium.
Yeah.
So it wasn't overpowering, which I think is good, because when you have really good flavors, you don't necessarily want to be hit over the head with a lot of nicotine or strength to kind of knock you down a little bit. But the flavors were just really dynamic in the first 2/3, and that's when a cigar can do that, it just really keeps your attention and just keeps you focused on the cigar. So it's not like a forgettable cigar where you're like, yeah, flavors are just continuing on. It's a little monotone, but this one was really dynamic. And I would say that this is definitely a box-worthy cigar for me.
Yeah, you were more in the lines with that one with Paul. I think he had it as a box worthy or even at the Chuck Norris level. He was very, very high on it. I had it more at the fiber level, which is still very good. The one thing I noticed, this cigar took me a long time to get, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But what was one of those cigars that if you're, you should always try to savor every cigar. But if you're smoking that cigar undistracted,
Right.
you'll get what that cigar I think you can get what that cigar has to offer. I've heard a lot of people rip that cigar. I've heard a lot of people love it, but I think a lot of people ripped it. They're smoking it, doing other things, and I kind of will encourage you to go back and smoke it undistracted there.
Yeah, and the wrapper on this cigar is pretty fragile, so you just have to be careful with it. We had some that we got, and the wrapper just took a beating, so we kind of had to do a second chance at trying to get some that we could smoke for review. So if you have some of these or come across them, just kind of keep an eye on the wrapper and make sure you're taking care of them.
Yeah, I've talked to Seth about that cigar, and Seth, I wouldn't say LaFleur is in his wheelhouse. He loved that cigar.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, a different profile than a lot of the LFD stuff that Lito blended. So this is more blended by his son, Antonio. So I think it was like a little bit of a departure from the normal, what people would, I guess, consider fuller strength LFDs. So I think it definitely hits a different profile. So for the people that maybe shy away from the LFD stuff based on strength, this would be a good entry point for them.
I agree. This was a talk about being a little late to the game on this one. A little later than I wanted to. Camacho Shellback.
Mm-hmm.
It came out. It made its debut at the show. Kind of came out last fall. I smoked it last fall. I felt it was young, so I kind of just put it to the side. Went back and have recently been revisiting these things. This is, Camacho's kind of gotten into a very big pattern for their releases, is what I'll say. In June they do their big regular production thing. So we just talked about the Power Band's going to be this year's. Then in July they do their Liberty.
Right. And
then at the show they unveil a limited. And in this one it was this year it was the Shellback. Last year it was the Double Shock. The year before it was the Blackout. And for the most part I've actually been a little disappointed with those limiteds that have come out at the show. I just felt they were missing the mark. Shellback, I always thought had some sort of something to it, but I just felt it needed some time. I finally got around to smoking them. You made a really interesting point. You talked about a minty note. This thing had, I don't want to say it was like mint. It had that mint finish, is what I want to say, where it was your palate felt very clean. After it had that no lingering aftertaste. So it's kind of like. And that's what I liked about this cigar quite a bit. It had a lot of natural tobacco flavors. It had some fruit sweetness, some wood notes in there. It was the blend is an Ecuadorian Habano 2000 wrapper over Nicaraguan tobacco. So sometimes Honduran tobaccos tend to dry my palate a bit, but there's no Honduran in here. But I really liked the minty finish on this thing. Overall, I thought the kind of strength and body wise, it starts out medium, and then by the last third, both the strength and body will go to medium to full. Kind of the strength and body balanced each other, I thought, really nicely on this one. Overall, this is one of those things I gave it a 5. It's a $12 cigar. I actually scored it at 90. So I was thinking under the Loomis scale. This would be, if at $12 it would fall as a 7.5, but if they lowered the price to $10, it would go, actually to a 9. So yeah, I kind of was starting to think about that. So it's a little pricier. There's some nice packaging with it, but again, worth getting 5 in your humidor with.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I haven't smoked this cigar either, so it's one I'll have to check out as well.
Yeah, it's it was very uncamacho compared to some of the other Camacho. They said there's Corojo in it. I didn't see Honduran listed in the blend, but maybe there's some Nicaraguan Corojo in it. But they didn't list Corojo, and I thought that was something in every Camacho cigar. So I wasn't sure of that. I have to follow up on that. Yeah.
Another one I smoked was the Morois pickle juice.
I want to hear about this.
And this, what was this? This is a March release that kind of right around St. Patrick's Day, right?
Right up against St. Patrick's Day they went.
Yeah, so I'm one of my local B&Ms is an Espinosa Lounge, so I knew I was going to be able to get a chance to smoke this cigar, so I went and picked a couple up. I think standard Candela flavors, some vegetal flavor, and that transitioned to a creamy dry hay. There was also some minerality on the retrohale, which was an interesting combination. Second, third, it was creamy, very smooth, but it was a little bit drying at times, which I think also goes along with the Candela type profile. Final third, the vegetal came back in, and there was a slight bitterness, but it was not off-putting. It actually enhanced the profile for me, and it can do that at times. Medium strength the whole way through, so it's not going to be like super light like a Connecticut or some other Candelas. But I think this is a very good Candela. There's only one that I've smoked that I would say I would rate higher, and that's the Illusione Holy Lance Candela. But that's with the caveat is I have not smoked the Romocraft Fomorian, so I can't compare it to that. But I think that's also a highly rated Candela that's out there. And I would give it a rating of a 5. And part of that's because I'm not sure of anybody that really smokes Candelas on a regular basis. So I think a 5 is still a pretty high rating to be able to have that volume kind of in your humidor and around a smoke. But definitely something to try if you've never had a Candela, or if you've had Candelas in the past and they just kind of weren't up your alley. I think this would be another one to visit that might give you a different aspect on what a Candela can be.
I enjoyed this a lot, and I actually thought it had quite like you said, it was a medium. It wasn't a mild Candela; it was a medium on this. I got a lot of smoke production off this cigar too.
Yeah,
I'm amazed on it. I thought it was a little less Candela-like than normal, and so did Paul. And I liked it about that. Paul actually wanted it to be more Candela-like. Actually, Stogie Santa liked the cigar.
Yeah, I heard
Candela.
that.
Yeah, which was a big surprise actually to a lot of us. But I think I think they did a really good job on this cigar overall. I did like the packaging they did. I got a jar of these actually, so I have the jar. Yeah, and I like it. Like I said, I agree. It's one of the better Candelas. I put it up there with probably the ones you mentioned, Skips, Illusione, and then the original Viaje was really White Label Project was very good too.
Right.
Yes, Seth, I'm wearing a blazer. We don't wear hoodies on this show. I actually took it off. We don't wear hoodies on this show. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I smoked a Viaje Skull and Bones Big Ivan, the 2016 edition. Have you ever smoked the Viaje Skull and Bones?
Yes.
Okay, so they moved some of the production to PDR for cigars last year with the 10-ton test. They've now done. They brought back the Big Ivan size, which is a 5x60 that they introduced about 3 years ago, and this is a different blend that they've introduced. So there is basically what I'll say is there is a ton. There's about 15 batches of Skull and Bones that they've come out with over the years with different blends, different sizes. This is like the 15th batch I've been able to track down. Has a San Andreas Mexican wrapper, Dominican binder, and a combination of Dominican and Nicaraguan filler on this thing. And the Big Ivan is a 5x60. And Big Ivan actually, from what I understand, it was the name of a hydrogen bomb that was tested in 1961, and it supposedly was the most powerful bomb ever detonated. So that was something I just learned from that. So Andre tends to name these Skull and Bones with the bomb names. It's a red-banded Skull and Bones. So there's different colors. You'll see most of them are red and white. There's a couple of others sprinkled in there, like a few blacks and silver and a gold. But red is considered the strongest of them. That being said, this cigar, It starts out actually strength wise like medium to full, and actually stays there. The second half goes to full strength, and actually the body starts out kind of dialed back as like a medium, but by the last third it's full bodied there. The flavors kind of start to pop as you go through this thing. You're gonna get a lot of those dark chocolate notes. You're gonna get some earth. You're gonna get some white pepper. Um, the chocolate. A lot of times when I get chocolate notes, sometimes in the last third, they lose that sweetness and they kind of turn to more of earthy notes and they kind of run out of gas. But with this particular cigar, not the case at all. The chocolate notes like really remained rich there, and remained kind of a dominant flavor. There was definitely has a pepper kick and a strength kick at the end of this. I thought the citrus may have been a touch of youngness on this cigar, even though it's been out for a few months. I think it could have used a little more time. But overall, a really good Skull and Bones, a very good release with Viaje and PDR. I gave this a box split.
Nice. So the chocolate flavor that you got, it was a fairly, I don't know if I want to say dominant, but it was a core flavor for you.
It was a core flavor. It was definitely what I would call a primary note for most of the cigar experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, whenever you can get something like that, that's always seems to be a treat, as long as it's not going to overpower you.
Yeah, and it wasn't overpowering with that sweet. Like I don't like a lot of people say they don't like a spicy cigar. I don't like something with too much sweetness. This just seemed to have the right amount of that. I was just getting a little bit of that citrus on the tongue, which wasn't like it seemed like a little bit of that youngness that was still kind of left on there. And if this was sitting in the humidor a little longer, I think it would have really been just like a perfect smoke otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
So I smoked the Diplomatico's 2014 Edition Regional Asia Pacifico, which is I think better known as the Bushido. So Cuban. Just kind of put that out there. This is a beast of a cigar. So it's 7.2 inches and 50 ring gauge. So it's kind of Churchill traditional, but it's it's got a torpedo style head on it, or actually it's a 109 style head. So torpedo taper, but rounded at the very tip. So that adds a little bit to the length, maybe the 0.2 inches there. But lots of cream, coffee, and cedar, which is a fantastic combination. Second, third, got some minerality that kind of popped in and out from that cigar to kind of go along with those core flavors. Final third, charred oak, black tea, and some earthiness. So the earthiness is not something I typically get out of the Cuban side, but it was a good flavor and good combination in this sample. The strength is mild to medium, which is kind of where the majority of the Cubans lie. So it's something that's good. And something I typically find with the Cubans is that the finish is very light. It's not something that's going to overwhelm your palate or want to keep you from smoking after you get done with a cigar. But based on the size and me being a slow smoker, I mean, this is a 3-hour plus cigar for me. But the flavors and the transitions were good, so it's not like I was getting bored with the smoking duration. So it's definitely something that's an enjoyable time that you're going to be putting into this smoke. I would say this is a box split. I think it's fairly expensive based on it being a regional and something that's I think it's fairly hard to get. But if you can come across these, I think it's definitely something to go after.
So 2 questions that I might have missed is the year. Sure. What year was this again that came out?
2014.
And the region was Pacific. Where was that specifically in the Pacific region? Was it?
I don't think I think it pretty much covers kind of all the Asian countries and then Australia, New Zealand kind of area. So pretty much that the far eastern set of countries.
Yeah, and it was a longer vitola, right? So do you find with like the Cuban vitolas they kind of run out of gas sometimes? With those
sometimes they will, but this one didn't. I mean, it was it definitely kept me interested the entire way, and I think one of the factors that people think of when they think of Cubans is how long they can age for. So this is definitely something that with time I think will even get better. So if it's something that you have or you think you might want to come across later on, I think it's got legs to be able to be good for quite some time.
I got to check this. I haven't smoked this one. I got to definitely check this out. This sounds very
they're a little hard to come by, but I mean, if you can find it and the price is decent for you, I'd say definitely grab some to try.
Excellent. No, I got to definitely do that. This was I talked about this actually earlier in our first segment. I smoked the Protocol Lancero by Cubaraqueño Cigars.
All right, I'm ready for this one.
Which was the company by Juan Cancel and Bill Ives. I mean, these guys are living the dream. That's all I got to say. Because, when they got their cigar announced last year, I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of us took it very seriously, right? Because, how many people are getting cigars? Protocol was a legitimate cigar. I think you and I agree on that.
Yep.
They were a hit at the show. I mean, and they really established themselves at that line. And I'm like, what a great story, right? So then I was down at Espinosa headquarters at La Zona Palooza, and they told me, "Hey, we got a new size coming out. We're coming out with a Lancero." And I said, "These fucking guys lost their minds." That's all I'm thinking. Like what do they do? Not a Lancero, right? So they gave me a couple of Lanceros, and let me tell you something. They knew what they would. They knew they had something special with that Lancero.
Nice.
This took, I think, the blend to another level. I really enjoyed it. It was a 7.5 by 38 Lancero. So there's not a lot of Lanceros that come out of La Zona these days. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was trying to think of any other Lanceros that Espinosa is putting out right now, and there's not a lot of them.
No.
They may have, and I should have done a little more research to check this, but if there's more than 2 or 3, I'd be surprised at a La Zona right now.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is what and I loved it, and I loved their cigar in the Corona Gorda. But this one, fantastic cigar. It had some great notes. It starts out with a little blast of black pepper. Then you're going to get notes of cedar along the way. You'll get some natural tobacco and chocolate kind of come in there, and they kind of all interchange off each other. Now, I got a citrus note off this one, but it was more of a sweeter grapefruit. It didn't taste young in this case. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was enhancing it just a bit. And I kind of get a little bit of that on the Corona Gorda as well. You're gonna get a nice cedar component for this cigar, I think, a little more so than the Corona Gorda. Great flavor nuances, great complexity on this thing. It's a stronger cigar than I thought. Right? It's probably a medium to full strength cigar. And, it medium to full in body. And in that last third, I think it really becomes like a full bodied cigar where you really feel those notes on your palate. But this was a box worthy cigar. I think they're selling these in bundles of 10 right now. But to be honest with you, if this was a 20 count box, I would get this. This is they did a tremendous job with this cigar. Espinosa and Bill and Juan. I got to really take my hat off to them. They did a great job with this cigar. It's legit.
Yeah, I want a pack of those, the original protocols at the Cigar Dojo party at IPCPR last year, and not wanting to be a kind of a hoarder of cigars, I had them give it away to one of the dojo members. Now I was kind of feeling bad that I gave it away as to how good the cigar was when I actually smoked it after the fact. So, but they have the probable cause that they just released this weekend as well. So I think that'd be another one to really go after. I think they're selling them out of Berkeley Humidor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
they still have some left. I heard as of this week.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely going to be something that people should hunt down and get them if they can.
Yeah, and I would say if you like Protocol, and I think now that I think about it, they did build a nice core base of some really hardcore cigar fans. And on top of that, there's probably a lot of Lancero fans. So it probably was a smart move. But the bonus was, I think the cigar came out to be the best size of the line. So, right. I mean, it was a bonus. For what folks, just so you know, with Aaron was talking about the dojo party. We were all at a dojo party in Las Vegas last year. And there were door prizes. And I got to give hats off to Aaron and Toasted Foot, who won some of the door prizes. And both of them, donated them back to the people who were attending that party, which I thought was an absolute class act. Even though you two were trying to one up each other, it was good. So
JD gave his to Cigars for Warriors, so that's definitely kudos to him. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a good bonus.
Yeah, and the reason why it was a good, I mean, there are people, and you got to give the dojo guys, they have a huge following. They're people that traveled halfway across the country to go to dojo's party.
Yep.
Dojo throws good parties, by the way. So if you hear of a
Yes.
dojo party, you have to go to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I smoked the Southern Draw Quick Draw Connecticut Short Panatella.
I like that cigar. Yeah.
And their quick draw line is what they deem as connoisseur sizes. So they're going to be, Corona short Panatellas, that size, where they kind of say, a 30 to 60 minute experience, and the price point is good. I think it's between $5 and $6 a piece. So that's kind of what their target is for the quick draw line. And this was just a recent release as well. This one's got a closed foot, and when I get to smoke a cigar that's got a closed foot, I'm always excited because you're going to get a little bit more of that, the flavor that the wrapper presents right off the bat. So you get to kind of focus on wrapper right away and then see how it kind of transitions into the full cigar. So right on lighting up, a big blast of cinnamon. And I'm a big fan of cinnamon in cigars. So whenever I can get that, it's starting off on the right foot for me. But along with the cinnamon, a lot of cream, woodiness, and some coffee. Getting into the second third, some minerality came in to mix with all those flavors. And I also got a bright pine flavor for a little bit. With the pine, I kind of put that along what you were saying with the mintiness. It's kind of a bit of a refreshing flavor and experience. So, I mean, it's not like it's an overwhelming, like, you just knocked a branch off a tree and you're kind of got it in your mouth. It's not like that. It's just an interesting experience there for a little bit. Final third, I got a little bit of bitterness, which kind of goes along with Connecticut's typically, and charred oak. And I also smoked the Corona in this, and I got more bitterness in the Corona, kind of I'd say right at the midpoint of the cigar of the Corona, the bitterness came in, but it wasn't until the final third on this cigar. And I had smoked a few prior to this and also had gotten the bitterness, but I think that was right off the truck. So I think just with some time, that bitterness has already gone away. So I think with more time, it may completely fade out on this cigar and make it even, that much more of a good flavor profile without the bitterness jumping in on it. But I would consider this cigar box worthy. Price point's fantastic on this cigar. Flavors are really good. It's kind of goes on that line of the Connecticut's that are trying to change things up and not be the typical super light strength. Because this one was medium for me in strength wise. And the construction on the cigar is fantastic, and it pretty much goes in line with the cigars that come out of the AJ Fernandez factory. Perfect draw, perfect burn. It's razor sharp, no attention needed on the cigar. You just get to sit back and really enjoy it. So it's a really good cigar, and I would say definitely worth picking some up because of the price, and the flavor is just fantastic.
Yeah, I smoked this one as well, and Paul I know reviewed the Corona. I reviewed the short Panatella. I got that bitterness on the first one I had, and it was right off the truck, which I normally never review a cigar right off the truck. I usually will smoke it to get either because I'm real curious about it or I want to get a feel for it. But I went back to that cigar probably a couple weeks later. It wasn't that long where I went back and reviewed it. I actually, and it was gone. There was, like I said, there was a little bit of I called it like a subtle bitterness is what I had. But
right.
I thought I did have it. I thought it was a little more dialed back. That was just my opinion. I thought it was mild to medium.
Okay.
But not far off. It's not super mild. It's not an ultra
Right.
mild cigar by any means. I actually found this to be more of the Panatella I found to be more of a 40, 45 minute smoke though.
I got more than an hour out of it, and I got more than an hour out of the Corona. So, I wouldn't say try to puff it down to get it in that time range. I'd just say, sit back and let the cigar dictate on what the timeline looks like.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, from what I understand, because I had a few folks ask us about this cigar, Robert Holt is like on an event tour, and I think these are right now strictly being sold at the events, but it is being rolled out at the trade show.
Right.
So I really, I like what Robert's doing, by the way. He's got some really good blends, actually. He was on episode 169 if folks want to check out that interview. But I know when Paul's our big Connecticut smoker on the show, and when Paul gives a blessing on a Connecticut shade, he's very picky on that. It's a good Connecticut, so.
Yep.
But yeah, I had it as a box split, but I could see, I have a couple more of these left, and I could see them going to box worthy with no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I got one more, and this was we actually usually will have a what we term a smoke of the week, which is kind of the one that is maybe your highest rated cigar for more or less. This one was my smoke of the week. It is by Romacraft Tobacco, and it is the Neanderthal HOXD. The Romacraft, actually, they came out with Neanderthal last year. They came out with the Figurado HN. They've come out with some other sizes that were much more limited. The HOXD is a 4x46 Petite Corona that was put into the, they released a sampler pack called El Catador de las Petites Coronas last year. So they have 4x46 versions of Cro-Magnon, Aquitaine, the 2 Intemperance cigars, and Neanderthal, and you get 2 of them each. These cigars were probably sitting around from August of last year. Love Neanderthal. It's my favorite Romacraft cigar. I think that everyone knows the story that Skip's powerhouse cigar he did with flavor, where he actually he's using a Pennsylvania Double Lajero called Green River Valley Sucker 1. Which is higher concentration of nicotine. Nothing unusual with someone using Pennsylvania to get higher nicotine. Usually, folks will use it to amp up the strains, but Skip kind of is using it to really as the foundation to keep this as a powerful cigar. And what I've noticed about the Neanderthals, they don't lose their strength very quickly. So, and I've smoked some Neanderthals 10 or 11 months old, and they still knock me down. This cigar is a full strength, full bodied cigar. I was wondering what would happen with the Petite Corona, but it probably had a little less strength than the HN, but it still had plenty of power there. Great. I found between that and the smaller size, it did great for this cigar. Mocha flavors. I call mocha that cross of coffee and chocolate. A little bit of that bitter, a little bit of that bitterness, a little bit of that sweetness. Earth. I get a nice red pepper note in there. I love how the red pepper and the mocha kind of fuse together with this cigar. At the same time, there's a tobacco profile to this cigar, which I really, really like. I think this became my favorite size. I smoked to a few of these now. Impressed with it. It is our Fight Chuck Norris cigar, which is our 4.5, which we're a little more judicious about giving out those in the Oasis cigars. Really, really, if you get your hands on some of these, get it. In fact, the sampler is really good. I went through the Cro-Magnon last year. These are good-sized cigars that Skip put out in this sampler.
Yeah, and with a lot of the Romacraft stuff that has the higher strength, I found that these cigars age really well. So even if you're looking at multiple years, that strength doesn't fade out too far, so that you can still kind of keep that in there and kind of see how it transitions if you kind of keep visiting them, every 3 to 6 months, keep going back to them and see how they age.
I would definitely agree. Like I said, this one, when I smoked the pre-release of it, it was 10 months old from the one Skip gave me, and it smoked great. But I've actually been keeping these around a lot in these blends, and they just like you said, and even like I said, Aquitaines I find too. They hold, and I love Aquitaine's probably my other favorite line out of the Romacraft portfolio. Like I said, really, really good cigar. I'd love to see this go regular production. So, it's really a good size.
So I got another Cuban, Hoya de Monterrey 2015 Habanos Añejados. So the Añejados program is something that Cuba is doing where they are putting cigars down for aging, and the cigars that they're releasing through this program are supposed to have between 7 to 9 years of age on them. And this cigar was actually box coded as November of '07. So, right around that 9-year mark. Cigar started out with wood, pepper, a little mustiness, some cream. Second, third was oak, some minerality, and I got a little bit of cocoa powder, which is not something I get from most Cubans. Final third, more oak creaminess, and I got some more of that mintiness that I had talked about in a previous cigar. Strength is slightly below medium, but overall, even though some of those flavors were there, it was really mellow, and I feel that this cigar was probably aged out already. It's probably best days have been, are behind it. If you could have smoked this cigar at the 3 or 4 year age mark, might have had a different experience. But I guess kind of a plug for Seth and the What Embargo show. I think that they're doing tonight is kind of really digging deep into this program and talking about the various cigars. But for me, I'd say this is a try one. If you have them, smoke it now, see what you think, because you may want to just smoke through all of them now. I don't know that they're going to do any better with a little bit more time on them.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 9 years since the age date. So I'm assuming that's a roll date they put on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said a date. It wasn't a vintage date in terms of the tobacco. It was
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they box them, put that date on them, and then it was just something that was released in 2015. So they had just been sitting there for that amount of time in their aging rooms, or boxed up in the aging rooms. So I have one more.
Yep, go ahead.
This is the Gran Habano La Conquista in the Gran Robusto size.
I got one of these, and I wasn't sure if it's a regular release yet or not.
It's a pre-release.
Yeah.
And they have not committed to this as being the name yet. So this may not be the name.
That's why I didn't review it. That's why I didn't review it.
So this may not be the name that it actually gets released at. It's supposed to get released in July. Mm-hmm. But this is kind of the working name that they are kind of going by at the moment. Lighting this up, sweet spice, pepper, oak, some mustiness. Getting into the second, third, going along with those core flavors, I was getting some graham cracker notes. Kind of a little bit of a bready with a little bit of cinnamon kind of in the background. Also got oily pepper and some nuttiness in that second, third. Final third, there was some cedar, and then that eventually translated to oak. And then I got a little bit more of that bright pine that popped in and gave that kind of clean finish. But then it kind of finished out with a little bit of a char on the oak. Strength here is mild to medium, and I think this is a really good pre-release cigar. So I'm just hoping that the final product kind of stays here, or if they even make it better, that's great too. But I would rate this as a box split.
Oh wow!
So it's definitely a good cigar. So I would say smoke it, or if you're going to wait a little more time on it. But it's definitely something that's something good to try. So I'm just kind of curious to what's the name going to be when they release it, and then is it the same blend at that point, and does it smoke the same? But definitely something to keep an eye on that once it gets released in July, and maybe something to track down.
Yeah, I have it. I'm gonna smoke it maybe for the show. I don't know if I'll do a review on it coop till we know the name, but yeah, I usually try to stay away from pre-release reviews lately. Mm-hmm. So occasionally I'll do it, but I have been curious about this cigar. It's kind of one of those that keeps staring me in the humidor. So
right,
it does sound pretty good. What was your rating on it again?
I give it a block split.
Okay, that's a very good rating. So yeah, it's definitely something to check out as well. So yeah, I have that one in my humidor. So something to look. I wonder if it's a trademark issue why they're holding back, because the name just seems like it could be a name already used. It's.
Yeah, I mean when they first reached out to me on it, it was saying that it didn't have a name, and then when I got it, there's a band on it, and the band isn't. It's not like just a generic printed band that just has from a label maker or something like that. It's like it's a decent band. It's not like a super fancy one, but it's a band that could be released on a cigar, and you would think that it's it's okay as a release band. So, but it does say pre-release in Spanish on it. So that's take that into consideration. So it's definitely not the production band, but they did put some time into that band.
Yeah, like I said, there was definitely artwork done on that band as opposed to that black and white paper band that we normally get on a lot of those pre-releases.
Yep.
So that's why I was wondering if they maybe either have something or they're trying to validate it. I don't know. I'm guessing there, but I'll have to give that one a shot for sure.
Yep.
All right. So just a couple of housekeeping items before I close out the show. Actually, I lied. Next week, Paul won't be back because we're taking next week off for Memorial Day. So we'll be back on June 6th with Restay from JSK Cigars, which is a very, very good boutique cigar. And we're happy to have him on the show. And then we'll have Recluse Cigars on the following week, the 13th. A reminder for our viewers, listeners, and readers, be sure to check out our other brands under the Stogie Geeks umbrella. We have, of course, Stogie Geeks Shorts and Stogie Geeks News. By the way, Stogie Geeks News is the only cigar podcast dedicated 100% to cigar news, and it all comes validated from the pages of Cigar Coop. And Cigar Coop is our review and news site. So be sure to check out those as well. And of course, you have plenty of options under iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and we just now added Stitcher Radio and TuneIn Radio. So plenty of options there. Aaron, hey, first of all, thanks so much for joining. It was really fun finally being able to do a show with you, and we'll be sure to have you back as well. You'll definitely be in the bullpen for our backup host, so really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Always love having me on the show and getting a chance to sit down and talk about cigars with you.
Absolutely. Best of luck to you, and I'll be talking to you soon and see you at the show.
All right.
All right, that concludes episode 188. We'll see you next time.